when you're pre-qualified and you're negotiating on an aircraft, your position is you, I'm pre-qualified.
That's it.
I want this, I want this, I want this. And if you don't give it to me, I'll get it from over there.
Welcome to Own the Jet by Aspen Aero Group, where we share perspectives from some of the leading voices in private jet ownership and business aviation. I'm your host, Derek Savage, along with my co-host, Jason Spoor, president of Aspen Aero Group. Our guest today is Wendy Stewart-Ormon from Aircraft Finance Corporation. Wendy is an expert in aviation finance and has helped countless buyers make smart, strategic decisions when it comes to their aircraft purchases. Join us as we dive deep into the mechanics, mindset, and moments that define jet ownership. And together, we'll learn what it takes to own the jet.
Wendy Stewart-Ormon, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's a privilege. Thank you.
Being our very first show, let me give a little bit of a synopsis on what the show is. So we're trying to bring things from the perspective of anybody that's interested in owning a jet, either for the first time or maybe they already own a jet and they're trying to learn more about the ins and outs of private aviation so they're more well informed and they know the right people, right? Mm-hmm. So can we start off by talking a little bit about your company, what you guys do, and why it pays to know someone like Wendy?
Aircraft Finance Corporation is a 30-year-old company. We're always been family owned. If somebody wants to purchase an aircraft, chances are they may need financing. Even if they think they don't need financing, they should still talk to us. We offer a concierge level service where we hold their hand from underwriting to close and beyond. Our clients are lifelong clients. We don't do one-offs. And I know their kids' names. I know their dogs. Yeah. They know my dogs, my kids. We become family. Right. But isn't that what private aviation is?
It is.
It's very niche, and it's a family.
Yeah. And so if I'm, I'm just picturing myself, if I'm some rich person that wants to buy a jet, right? Like I've got a lot of money and I want to buy a jet. Why would I need financing for it? What's the purpose? Because I'm assuming I'm going into this with I've got FU money, let's do this, right? Why do I need financing?
Well, even people with FU money should consider the fact that we can get very favorable rates and terms. Yeah. They can take their cash, reinvest it in their business, put it in the stock market, just hold on to it. We don't just finance the uber wealthy. We have friends that come together, 2-3 gentlemen, and they go together and purchase and finance an aircraft. So I'll do anything over $1 million, and the sky's the limit.
Nice, nice. So it's like a party bus, right? If you if you're going in with friends. Yeah. For our viewers here, Jason, you're the president and owner of Aspen Aero Group, brokerage and management firm,
right?
For private aviation, jets specifically. How do you and Wendy know one another?
So we met several years ago, working one of my past jobs. We had one of our executives looking to buy an airplane, and we contacted Wendy's company and made the connection. So I got him financed and on his way to an airplane, and been friends ever since. So.
You told us a story when we were meeting earlier.
I told you several stories.
You told us several stories, but you told us an interesting story about some things that happened related to some people you had to bail out, right? I don't want to give too much away, but
we do finance some very colorful people. This was a very high profile musical entertainment person. We got the financing done in place. We closed this beautiful Gulfstream aircraft. Yay, it's always a happy day. Yeah. And their very first trip, I get a phone call at 5 a.m. I'm on the East Coast, and I wake up. Hello? It's never good when your phone rings at 5 a.m. And it is the client saying, our pilots just quit. We're in Miami. And I'm like, hang on, hold on. I turn on the light. Can you reiterate what you're saying?
Their pilots quit. They didn't just like take a break.
No, we landed in
They
Miami.
quit.
Walked
They
away.
took their bags and they left. I said, why did this happen? He said, I don't know. I said, okay, let me call you back. Let's make some phone calls here. So we call the pilots. I'm like, hello? You know, what's going on?
Yeah.
I said, I am not losing my pilot's license for drugs and hookers in the back of this aircraft. And I said, I understand. Thank you so much.
Not just what, multiple
Yeah.
hookers, multiple drugs.
There was a lot going on in the back of this air. It's a rock and roll
This is
lifestyle.
when you own the jet,
Yeah.
you live how you want.
Right.
Exactly. So I said, I understand. Thank you so much. Click. I call a friend on the West Coast, wake them up, and it's very early there.
Yeah.
Thank God you took the call. You know who you are. Said, I need 2 Gulfstream pilots in Miami in 2 hours, max 4, please.
Now they had to be like specific
Yes.
Gulfstream pilots
Yes.
because you mentioned that.
You have
Yeah.
to be type rated on a specific aircraft.
So you can't just like, hey,
1-800
Southwest
pilot.
Airlines,
No,
who do you
I'll
have?
let you speak to that.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Very specific for that airplane.
You've got to have that license, that certification,
correct.
training, all
Yeah.
that. Okay. So you had, not only was it Find Me pilots.
Specific
this
to
pilot.
this aircraft
Yeah.
too.
Okay.
And so 4 hours later, they took off in Miami because after 30 years, we know who to call. And we don't leave our people just hanging out there in the
It's
wind.
who you know, right?
Yes, because they will finance another aircraft or 5 or 6. This is a lifelong relationship.
Yeah.
And I don't judge. I don't care what he was doing on his aircraft.
Right.
I just want him happy. I want him to come back and finance another aircraft in the future.
Yeah.
So
How long do people usually keep their I mean, do people get their planes repoed? Do they like if you find somebody that like, it's their first jet, they're not used to the expense of it, whatever, right?
Well, we qualify them, not just on the payments, but on the maintenance, the hangars, the pilots, the fuels, unexpected, whatever.
Yeah.
So hopefully they're never in a position where they have to make a choice over not making their jet loan payment, but we've never had that happen.
Yeah.
Look, a jet owner has a mad, crazy love for his aircraft.
Yeah.
He will sell his wife, his kids, his dogs, his Harley, his house before he misses a jet loan payment.
Right.
We've never.
Because you can always get another dog. You can always, if you got the jet, you can get a wife, right?
Or
I mean, is that
3.
the idea?
Right.
Okay.
But they don't walk away from their aircraft. We have never had that happen.
I guess it's a life, right? Like
It is. It's a lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you
most people-
can't go backwards from that. Like,
Right.
you're flying around in your Gulfstream, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, this isn't for me. I'm going to go back and fly
United.
United. No,
Right.
said no one ever.
Right,
They
right.
just, and it started going downhill commercially when COVID started.
I would say post 9/11 it went downhill because all the TSA stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean that's
Coming
just
in.
like
Well, that was the first in commercial aviation, but it didn't get really awful until COVID.
Yeah.
And we actually in 2021 had our biggest year
Yeah.
in 2021 in
Yeah.
30 years.
yeah.
Everybody bought a private jet in 2021.
Now, a lot of that, there was some depreciation, like tax benefits, right?
Yes, we used
Talk
to have
about that. Yeah,
we
yeah.
used to have 100% bonus tax depreciation.
So what that means, if I have this right, and I think I do, because we were talking a little bit about this yesterday. That means that if you purchase a $10 million jet, you can depreciate all of that year one. Is that the idea?
Well, there is a schedule.
Yeah.
But it used to be 100%. So if you have a tax liability,
Yeah.
you can purchase a private aircraft and take the depreciation right off your tax bill. It's a very large incentive, but they are bringing back a bill that
Yeah.
just passed the House that includes 100% bonus depreciation.
Yeah.
And I actually just had a phone call last week when it passed the House that a client of mine who I've had for 5 years is looking at a new aircraft. He was looking at a $4 million aircraft.
Yeah.
Called me up. He said, Wendy, I think I'm going to step up to an $8 million purchase to offset my tax liability.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, let's get this done.
Yeah.
Let's get you pre-qualified,
Yeah.
sir, because the best position always when purchasing an aircraft is from a fuck you position.
That's it.
There it is.
And by that, I
There it
mean,
is.
when you're pre-qualified and you're negotiating on an aircraft, your position is "F you, I'm pre-qualified.
That's it.
I want this, I want this, I want this. And if you don't give it to me, I'll get it from over there.
Yeah.
So always buy a jet from a position of I'm pre-qualified.
Yeah.
So let's get you pre-qualified.
And that is why you want to know Wendy.
Right. Exactly.
So right now, just talking about the depreciation thing, if I were to buy a jet today, right, and this is before this bill passes and we're taping this prior to airing it, so by the time this airs, this is likely that the bill will have already passed. But today, prior to that happening, what's that look like? What's keeping those floodgates from coming open as far as people making that purchase?
Right now, it's at 60%
Yeah.
depreciation.
Yeah.
But think about that, being able to bump up to 100%. If you have a $10 million tax liability, the difference between 60% and 40% is significant. What is that? $4 million. I'm doing quick blonde math.
Yeah.
But
You're better at it than I am.
it's,
I think
it's
you're right.
significant. So I think people are watching and waiting. We have a new administration. You know, politics play a huge part in private aviation.
Yeah. Sure.
So I think we're headed in the right direction.
I do want to find out from you if there's like a thing that people need to know prior to getting into this conversation. If there's one thing, now you had mentioned cash being an obstacle sometimes, right? Like cash is the biggest enemy sometimes.
Cash is my biggest competitor.
Your biggest competitor, right?
Yes.
Right. Why is that? Because if I've got $10 million in the bank and I want to buy a jet,
Why wouldn't you want to keep that?
throw it into Bitcoin
We're back to Bitcoin.
or whatever it is that I
Just
want to invest.
hold on to it.
Yeah.
But I've talked to a lot of clients who I think it's an ego thing.
Yeah.
I paid cash for my jet, but that doesn't make it a smart purchase.
Right.
Even if you already own your jet
Sure.
for cash, let's refi you out of it. Let me give you cash back. I can
Okay.
get you cheap money. Just take your cash back.
Nice.
Use it in your business. Invest it. Hold on to it.
Nice.
We do that a lot.
So if somebody wants to get in touch with you
Yep.
about like, hey, maybe I've got what's the minimum I need to have as far as like before I reach out to you, just so I don't have a bunch of like,
Well, it depends
You know.
on what you're purchasing.
let's say I'm purchasing a jet that is at least, I don't know, what?
$2-3 million.
$2-3 million.
Let's start.
What do I need to have in the bank? What does my situation need to be before I reach out to you?
So if you're coming to me for a loan,
Yeah.
perhaps you don't really need it,
Okay.
right? But you want it.
Yeah.
So if you want a $2 million loan, let's have 1 to 2 in the bank.
Okay.
You get to hold on to it,
Nice.
but it creates comfort.
Okay.
Knowing that you have this cash.
Okay.
Just in case things go south in your life.
Yeah.
'Cause
That's a lower barrier to entry than I would have assumed. I would have assumed that you needed to be like 20, 30 at least
No.
to get into that situation. No.
Well, if you're buying a $30 million aircraft,
Right.
Right, yeah.
We're just talking like a starter jet.
Yeah,
Just my first jet, right?
that's what we're talking about.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but you can do that with $2 million in the bank and finance whatever you need to finance.
well, you're going to put 30% down.
Yeah.
So after that, you need cash and reserves.
Yeah.
We're going to look at your reserves.
Okay, gotcha. You know, whenever you guys work in this industry, one thing that I've found, because I'm a newcomer to the industry, I don't know an FOB from a DOM to any of these other acronyms you guys throw around all the time. What are some cases where you guys have run into where you've just had to like educate the hell out of people? Is that something that you run into very often?
Yeah, quite often.
What don't they know?
So it depends where they're coming in from, right? If they're coming in from a previous aircraft owner to being a brand new owner wanting to start operating a jet.
Yeah.
How much we have to backfill, how much we have to educate them on, hey, you got to buy the airplane, but not only that, but continuing, the upkeep on the airplane, the hangar of the airplane.
Now, Wendy, you said something interesting last night when we were talking about the maintenance.
Yes.
Why? Okay, so obviously you have to maintain an aircraft. I get
Yes.
that. It's like, I own a car. I have to get maintenance done on that. Aircraft's a little bit more, intense, right? But why does that matter whenever you're looking to finance a jet?
Well, the engine and APU maintenance programs protect the asset from catastrophic possible happenings, and it does happen. The value of an aircraft is largely in the engines, and we prefer to have them on programs that are purchased hourly by the owner.
If they're not on programs, and why should that matter?
Well, if you lose an engine, depending on the aircraft, you're reaching into that front pocket.
Yeah.
1 million, 2 million, 3 million, right?
And up.
And up.
Yep.
For that engine program is insurance that no matter what happens, it's taken care of.
Gotcha. What about the I don't know, if your lenders see that something's not on a maintenance program, how does that affect the financing part
we
of things?
prefer it, but we have done it without the programs. But that requires a significant cash deposit into an account to be held to ensure that if the engine fails, that it's going to.
So it's like if you're not going to maintain this, you're covering the risk.
Right. We don't want someone just to walk away when an engine fails.
And just leave their airplane abandoned on a ramp somewhere.
We don't want the
Done.
They put the orange sticker on the window and you just wait for them to tow it away. Is that how that works?
No, we
Something
want
like that.
everybody out there flying and happy and, flying private.
Yeah. What does it feel? I mean, people come to you guys and they're like, a lot of times they haven't owned a jet before, but maybe they've ridden in a private jet from somebody, they've had a taste of it, right?
Or they're just so fed up with commercial air travel.
Yeah.
I flew in here yesterday. It was not enjoyable. Even if you're sitting up front.
And we're in Indianapolis. We have a pretty decent airport.
Yes. But it's about
world-renowned.
It's about getting
Doing a great
through TSA and the strip search and all of your everything being shoved into a dirty, nasty bin. And, people are sick of it. And then flight delays, cancellations, misconnections, your luggage is lost.
Yeah.
The beautiful thing about private aviation, you show up 15 minutes before your flight.
Yeah.
And you just get on and everyone's happy. And the pilots just are there and you just go.
Nice. Where can we learn more?
Aircraftbanker.com
Aircraftbanker.com.
is our website.
Okay.
Yeah. One thing before we go.
Sure.
I absolutely have to pay homage to our founder,
Absolutely.
my late beloved husband, who everybody knows in private aviation, Martin Stewart-Ormon, was a titan in this business. And we miss you. Everybody loves you. And thank you for teaching and mentoring so many people.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. To Marty.
To Marty.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great way to end the first episode.
Thank you for watching Own the Jet. If you want to see more Own the Jet, make sure to subscribe to our channel on YouTube and leave a comment telling us what aspect of jet ownership you'd like to know more about. Own the Jet is brought to you by Aspen Aero Group, your trusted partner in private and corporate jet ownership. Learn more at aspenaerogroup.com. This has been a Savage Media production.